Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. It's Josh. Let me do a wrist check before we get started here. Today I'm wearing my Seiko Presage, JDM Seiko Presage SAR X035. I love this guy. Look at all that detail. But that's not what we're here to talk about today. What we're here to talk about today is my 2018 model Tissot Seastar 1000 Powermatic 80. If you watched the original video on my channel, you'll know that I got this back in about July of 2018. So I've had this guy for about 8 months now. And I've gotten so many questions. That video has gotten so many views. And I've gotten so many questions and comments and messages and all sorts of, everywhere that you can interact with me on social media. And, everybody's got a different question. Everybody wants to know how the watch is wearing. Everybody wants to know if I have decided to keep this in my permanent collection. Because that was one of the things in that video I talked about. I wasn't really sure if it was something that had a place in my permanent collection. And then, generally people just wanted to know how it's wearing, how I feel about it, if I still love it. So I figured that, I've been trying to respond to all of those questions and comments, but I figured it would just be better to come on, do another video, really just sit down and talk through this watch with you guys. The first big thing I want to talk about is this is not the same watch that we looked at in the original video. I will put a picture in the video of what happened to the original watch in the original video. Long story short, the unit that I had was not sealed properly. Now, whether that happened, whether it came unsealed while it was in my possession, or if it just came from the factory like that, I don't know. But what I can tell you is that we were on vacation in California, in Southern California, and we had gone to the beach. Well, we're sitting at a restaurant for dinner, and I have my arm on the table, and I noticed that the entire case, kind of in here, right under the crystal, is fogging up with condensation. Now, of course, if you know anything about watches, you know that that's not normal. That's not supposed to happen because, these watches are made, they're supposed to be sealed up because you don't want any kind of moisture affecting the movement, affecting the internals of the watch. And so I noticed that and I was like, oh great, yeah, this is going to be a big ordeal. Well, I used to live in Southern California, so the next day we went down to the Bloomingdale's there. Now, I had purchased this online from Bloomingdale's, as you might know, and Bloomingdale's is, well, one, they have a really great customer service, return policy, but they also are an authorized retailer for the Swatch Group. So I went to go and see my SA there, who I've worked with for years in the past. I just kind of took the watch in and I said, this is happening, obviously it's not normal. She knows watches very, very well, so she knew right away, and she was like, oh my gosh, that's not acceptable. Now, at the time, I'd only had the watch for about 2 months, so they took it back. She just took it back. I think they just marked it out of their inventory as, like a quality control issue. And they didn't have one in the store, so, she basically refunded me my money and then placed another order and had this one shipped to my home. So that was perfect. And this is not, an advertisement for Bloomingdale's or anything, but it's one of the reasons why I always say to you guys, when you are looking at buying, a watch, it is always better, smarter, a better investment to buy from an authorized dealer, or in the case of a Tissot, for example, buy from Macy's or Bloomingdale's or someplace where you know that you can take it back in if, like me, you had a problem with the watch and you need to, you need some kind of customer service resolution because clearly the product that you purchased, that you got, was not, did not work right. So anyway, that happened. I got a brand new one. I've since taken this to the beach, to the lake, diving, swimming, etc. Have not had one single problem with it. So what I've kind of chalked it up to is, I had just bought it at the beginning of the production run, and I think that, they were still sort of working out how these are produced, and so just, one slipped through the cracks and had some issues. But I don't think that it's at all representative of Tissot quality, of Tissot durability. Watches are just like cars. You can get a lemon of even the most reliable model. You know what I mean? So I have not had any problems with this guy. It's worked perfectly. It's kept perfect time. And I'm actually really happy with it. I think it definitely does have a place in my permanent collection, because put side by side with my previous generation Seastar, I definitely think that this one looks a little bit more elegant, a little bit more sleek, a little bit more timeless. So I have no hesitations wearing this with even a formal, ensemble, and still feeling like I look put together. I have a nice watch on my wrist, so on and so forth. Now, with that being said, obviously, as you can see, I have taken off the bracelet. I got a lot of questions about this guy. I think it's just a common theme. In all of my videos, I say that Tissot does not do a great job with their bracelets, leather straps, etc. And this guy is no exception. That was a big question in the original video and all the comments, how is the bracelet? Does it feel cheap? Does it feel like a Seiko diver? It definitely does not feel like a Seiko diver bracelet, and if you've ever felt those, they feel, very lightweight, very hollow. This guy's got solid end links. It is, for the most part, it is a very nice bracelet. Like, I don't think you'll have any complaints if, you go into this knowing that you're buying a $700 watch. But with that being said, you do still get a stamped clasp. You do still get kind of, it's not the most, it doesn't drape super elegantly like, like a Tag Heuer or like an Omega or anything like that. But, again, at the price point of $700, I'm not faulting the watch for that. My solution to not wanting to use this bracelet was putting the watch on a NATO strap. And I'm actually really happy with the way that this looks. To me, a NATO strap, I'm sure I've said this in other videos, but to me, a NATO strap is just one of the nicest, kind of most classy ways that you can wear, not every watch, but definitely a diver. And the thing is, with the NATO straps, like, I honestly think that you can wear this with a suit, you can wear it with blue jeans and a t-shirt, and it's still going to look, elegant, classic, very timeless, a little bit more casual, obviously, than, being on a bracelet, but this is a diver, and so it's inherently a sporting kind of casual watch. So, in that sense, I think that the kind of look and feel of this watch on a NATO strap is sort of, it's just so timeless, it's classic. I've worn it exactly like we're looking at it here on this gray, silver, and black Bond type NATO strap. Worn it with a suit, I've worn it with jeans and a t-shirt, and almost every time I wear it, at least one person notices and says something like, oh, I love the way that looks, Like, you can tell immediately that it's not, a Rolex, or you can tell immediately that it's not, some $10,000 watch. But I also think that it not being so, fancy makes it more approachable from both, me as a person, as the wearer, but also other people who are, interacting with me. And I feel like people are more interested in knowing about the watch because I think you can kind of tell that it is definitely affordable. I don't want to say cheap, but definitely affordable. So that's the one thing. The other thing I mentioned in the original video is that this is quite a large watch. So, width is about 43, and then overall, lug to lug is much more than that. So, and it's also a very thick watch. So when you put it on the bracelet, this kind of combination becomes very bulky very quickly. It gets very heavy, and again, because the bracelet is not the most comfortable, sculpted, softened type metal bracelet, you really start to feel it when you wear it on the bracelet. Versus with the NATO strap, like, this is just so comfortable, and honestly, this is so light, just kind of in your hand, on your wrist, that you almost start to forget that this is a 43mm watch. So to me, this is sort of the way that this watch will always be. Let me take this apart here. You guys know that I love Blue Shark NATO straps. I think that they are just some of the best quality that you can find out there. I'm not sponsored by them. This video is not, I don't get anything for free from them. I would love to, but I don't. So I personally, though, highly recommend Blue Shark NATO straps. This is one of the original Blue Shark straps. It's not any of the premium line. I just love the texture. I love the way that these feel. I love the way that they look. And so for me, this is the way to go. And if you have concerns about this being a bigger watch, or maybe too big for your wrist, or too heavy for your wrist, I highly recommend at least thinking about doing this, because honestly, I mean, doesn't that just looks amazing? And then when you get the sunray finish with the kind of white, the classic white circles, squares, and triangles indices, and those big bold hands, I just think that this is a killer combination. So let me take my Seiko off really quickly, and I'll show you what this looks like on the wrist. Okay, so this is how it looks on the wrist. Again, I don't know, just that sporty, casual, but still very elegant, very classic, very timeless combination. I just think looks phenomenal. I mean, again, blue jeans, a t-shirt, or a suit. I just think you really can't go wrong with a diver on a NATO strap. And honestly, like wearing it right here, what we're looking at, this feels so lightweight. It feels so small. I think because you don't have the heft of that, of the bracelet kind of cutting into your skin and really just, being a burden to wear. With the NATO strap, it's just really lightweight. It's super flexible. And so, I don't know, overall, I just think that that's the winning combination for this watch. So those are all the things that I like. Now, I do have some dislikes. You've probably noticed as we're looking at this watch here under our filming lights, it's a very reflective watch. I don't think that there's any AR coating on this watch to speak of. And this happens in the sun as well. Like, this is not, it's a little bit easier to see in person than on the viewfinder, but it really would have been nice for them to put some AR coating on there. And let me show you exactly what I mean, because this Seiko has one of the best AR coatings of any watch that I've ever seen. And even in our filming lights, you can still see it. And in person, it's a lot, you can definitely see it more. But you see what I mean? Like, where you can, even when we have it in complete light, you see how the Tissot is completely obscured, but the Seiko, you can definitely still make things out, even on camera. And these are really just bright lights for filming, but even in these super, super bright lights, you can still make out detail on the Seiko's face. On the Tissot, I mean, you can't see a thing. So it's not that bad in real life. Like, you can definitely still see it, if you're in the sun and you kind of cover it with your hand. You can definitely still make out, what is going on the dial. But at the same time, look at the bezel, same thing. I really, really wish that they had done, well, one, I wish that they had done an engraved bezel, but I really wish that they had done some kind of AR coating. I understand that there were some cost-cutting, moves done to make this watch, $725, but at the same time, I just wish that they had paid a little bit more attention to the fit and finish of it. On that note, there are just some fit and finish things I wish that they had paid a little bit more attention to. I made this comment in the original video, but I really would have loved kind of like a bottle cap or like pop top kind of bezel. This is fine. It's definitely an improvement over the previous generation, but the just kind of straight cuts that they made here, I don't know, it just doesn't feel as refined as, something like, well, I don't want to compare it to an Omega or a Rolex, but, I would have liked it to feel a little bit more refined, I think. Now, the other question that I get a lot about this watch is how it compares to the Longines Hydro Conquest, and that's what we're looking at here on the right. Now, in the original video, I mentioned that, a new one had been released at Baselworld 2018, and it seemed to update the previous generation Hydro Conquest in a really nice way. They had really cleaned up the face. They had, added the ceramic bezel. The fit and finish looked like it was just a little bit more refined than the previous generation. However, the price of that has really increased, where this guy is still $725. And I don't know, I still think that you really just can't beat that $725 price tag. I did see it a couple weeks ago before this video. Macy's and Bloomingdale's were both doing, one of their sales, and so all Tissot watches were 25% off. That's how I bought mine, and that's how I brought the price down of this watch to $550 from an authorized dealer. So I don't know. If you're looking at the Hydro Conquest versus the Seastar, you really have to think about, are you really willing to spend 2 or more times the cost of this watch on the Hydro Conquest? If it's a yes, then just go with the Hydro Conquest, because it's in a totally different class now than the Tissot. And again, I said this in the original video, but I think that was strategic on Swatch's part, because they knew, if you decrease the price of this and you increase the price of that Hydro Conquest, you're going to have a much bigger divide and a much more clear-cut divide between, the Tissot level and the Longines level. Because Tissot is very much the mid-range offering, and the Longines is sort of in the upscale but not prestige level yet, where Omega sits. So for all of you who are asking if I personally would go with the Longines over the Tissot, my answer to you is, if I didn't have my Omega and I was willing to spend the money on that Hydro Conquest, I would go with the Hydro Conquest. However, I don't think that you can go far wrong at $700 with the Seastar. So it's really up to you guys and how you feel, how much money you want to spend, how far are you willing to extend yourself. I think that you are getting a much more finished watch with the Longines, but I think you're definitely paying for what you get. So for me, I love collecting, little budget watches and stuff like that. The Tissot is definitely the way to go for that price point. I like watches that do exactly what they set out to do. They have a mission, and they fulfill that mission completely. This Tissot's mission is to be a phenomenal entry-level diver watch that you can love and wear for years, and then when you're ready to step up to something like that Longines or like an Omega or whatever, it's not going to be replaced in your collection because, it's clearly not the same caliber watch. So even as you start moving up to your Omega, to your Rolex, to, your even just to something like an Oris, I think that this will definitely still have a place in your collection, because it can be, like where it is in my collection, it can be the diver that you can wear out, look great, it'll look great on your wrist, and at the same time, you're not worried about bashing in a $5,000 watch. So anyway, those are sort of my long and rambling thoughts about my Tissot Seastar 1000 Powermatic 80, 8 months in. I'll definitely try to report back at about a year. I don't think my feelings will change one bit between then and now. And if you are still looking at this watch, maybe you're just looking now into getting to buy it, I hope that this has been helpful. If you have any more questions, please feel free. I always say leave them down in the comments. I always respond to, as many comments as I can. I answer all the questions that I can to the best of my ability. Thank you so much for watching and for supporting this channel. I really do appreciate it, you guys. I will talk to you later, and take care.